After driving 8 hours through a thundering, lightning and heavy rain to surprise my wife on our anniversary, I walked in with a cake and heard her tell her sister, "God, I hope he crashes." "I could use the insurance," her sister replied, "or at least a few months of silence." They laughed. I left the cake on the counter. The next morning, I was gone. After a few weeks later, she attempted suicide. Make it like it's my story. It's strange how just a few words, 12, maybe 15 at most, can brand themselves into your mind like fire on flesh. I still remember the first time I saw her. We met at a mutual friend's wedding. She was wearing a simple blue dress, hair pinned up in a way that made her look effortlessly elegant. We talked for hours that night about everything and nothing. There was a softness in her eyes, a warmth in her laugh that made me feel like I was finally home. We got married 2 years later. Life was far from perfect, but we made it work. I worked long hours, took extra shifts when I had to, just to make sure she had the kind of life she always dreamed of. She used to say she felt lucky to have me. I believed her. For a while it was good, better than good. We had our little routines. Friday movie nights, lazy Sunday mornings with coffee in bed, spontaneous road trips. We were a team. But things started changing when her sister, Rhea, came to stay with us temporarily. At first, I didn't think much of it. I welcomed her. It was family, after all. But then Rhea never really left, physically or emotionally. Slowly, I watched my wife drift toward her and further away from me. Rhea came with her own circle, loud, carefree, dismissive of everything I stood for. Nights that used to be hours turned into loud parties or late night. Phone calls filled with gossip and complaints. Conversations with my wife started to feel like walking through a minefield. She rolled her eyes at the things that used to make her smile. My jokes weren't funny anymore. My presence wasn't comforting, it was annoying. She started saying things that stung. Little things at first, harmless, I thought. "You're too serious," or "you never understand fun." But over time, those words grew sharper, colder. She started treating me like I was just there, like I was something she had to tolerate. I tried. God knows I tried. I planned surprises, cooked her favorite meals, reminded her of the life we'd built. But she seemed more invested in her sister's validation than in our marriage. Then came our anniversary. 8 hours of driving through thunder, lightning, and torrential rain, all just a surprise. Her with a cake and a few stolen moments together. I was soaked, exhausted, but excited. I imagined her smile, the way she used to run into my arms after time apart. But when I walked in quietly, cake in hand, I heard her voice from the kitchen. She was on the phone with Rhea. "God, I hope he crashes. I could use the insurance." And Rhea laughed. "Or at least a few months of silence." They both laughed. Like I was a joke. Like my life didn't matter. I placed the cake on the counter. Didn't say a word. The next morning, I was gone. It's strange how just a few words, 12, maybe 15 at most, can brand themselves into your mind like fire on flesh. "God, I hope he crashes. I could use the insurance." Every time I closed my eyes, I heard them again. Her voice cold and casual, like she was talking about the weather, not her husband, driving through a storm to surprise her. And then Rhea's laugh, that sharp, smug laugh that used to irritate me but now felt like a knife. I tried to move on. I really did. I rented a small apartment outside the city, threw myself into work. I told myself I was better off, stronger. But my thoughts didn't cooperate. I'd be sitting at my desk typing up reports or on a call with a client, and suddenly, boom, her words would hit me again. My chest would tighten. My hands would tremble just enough to make the letters blur on the screen. Lunches went untouched. Nights stretched into mornings. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't living. I kept wondering, was that always how she saw me? Just a policy number? A burden? I replayed every moment from the past year, searching for signs I missed. Maybe I was blind. Maybe I wanted so badly for things to work that I ignored the fact they were already breaking. And Rhea. For a while, she was the face of everything that went wrong. Her voice echoed just as loud in my head. But slowly, almost quietly, her presence started to fade. I realized she wasn't the disease, she was just a symptom. A shadow that grew when the light between us dimmed. The real problem was my wife's choice to stop seeing me. Rhea just gave her the mirror she needed. To believe she deserved something or someone else. And even though it still hurt, even though those words kept haunting me, Ria was beginning to disappear from my heart. The anger was still there, but it was cooling, morphing into something sharper, cleaner, clarity. She had poisoned our home, yes, but it was my wife who poured the glass. And I was finally starting to realize I didn't have to keep drinking from it. Funny how fast people scatter when the house starts to burn. After I left, Ria didn't stick around for long. From what I heard through mutual friends, she found someone new to attach herself to, some guy with a boat, a wallet, and no idea what was coming. She stopped answering my wife's calls, stopped dropping by. All the late-night laughter, the inside jokes, the endless gossip, gone. Turns out chaos is only fun when someone else is cleaning up the mess. And my wife? She started calling. At first it was just texts. A hey here, a can we talk? There. I ignored them. But then came the voice messages. Her tone was different, slower, cracked around the edges. I didn't mean it, she said once. I was just venting. I didn't think you'd hear me, she cried. She apologized. She said she missed me, that the apartment felt like a coffin without me, that Ria used her, that she wanted to fix things. But the thing is, I didn't. By the time she came back around, there was nothing left in me for her to reach. I'd spent weeks dragging her words like chains, waking up in cold sweats, questioning everything I ever did right or wrong. And now? Now I could finally sit with silence and not flinch. I could finally eat alone and not feel empty. I wasn't healed yet, but I wasn't bleeding anymore either. I didn't care about her regret. I didn't care that Ria had vanished or that the people she chose over me were nowhere to be found. Because when someone wishes you dead, joking or not, it kills something inside you, something you can't bring back with tears or guilt or second chances. She tried to come back to the man she once knew. But I was no longer him, and I didn't care. Not about her. Not about Ria, not anymore. It had been weeks since I last heard her voice. I'd stopped responding to her messages. I thought I was done with the pain, done with the memories, done with her. Then my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize, local hospital. I almost didn't pick up, but something in me said answer it. Is this your name? Your wife. She's here. She attempted suicide. She's in critical condition. You should come quickly. I didn't even remember grabbing my keys. Didn't remember the drive. Just the weight in my chest. Like my heart had fallen into my stomach and refused to beat right. When I walked into that sterile, fluorescent-lit hallway, all the old pain rushed back. Every word she ever said, every look, every silence. But none of it mattered. Not then. Not when I saw her lying in that hospital bed. Pale and motionless, machines breathing for her. I stood there frozen, angry, hurt, but also terrified. Despite everything she had said, everything she had done. I couldn't just let her go. I sat by her bedside for hours, days even. I fed her when she was too weak. Held her hand through the tremors. Brushed her hair from her face as she cried without saying a word. I watched her break completely. But I didn't walk away. Because somewhere beneath all the betrayal, the anger, the scars, there was still a piece of the woman I once fell in love with. And maybe a part of me was still that man who couldn't bear to see her in pain. She apologized, not with words this time, but with silence, with eyes full of guilt, with a hand that trembled every time it reached for mine. And I didn't forgive her, not entirely. Not yet, but I chose to stay. Not because I forgot, but because I remembered who I am. Because no matter what she did, I still have a heart. And sometimes, the strongest thing a man can do isn't walking away. It's choosing compassion when it's the last thing expected of him.